Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back once again to Transwest Truck Trailer RV. My name's Mark Love, and today I've got a really unique coach. I know I say that a lot, maybe gets redundant, but what I've got is a 2023 Ventana, and this is a 4068 floor plan. The 4068 was a new floor plan for this year. It's a passenger side dinette. There's actually an option. You can get a desk in the middle, or you could have a wine cooler in there. This one does have the wine cooler. And the Ventana Dutch Star, that's kind of where you step from your diesel pushers up to the luxury end when you get into the Dutch Stars. So as we walk around, I'm going to point out some of the things that are different, some of the things they did in 23 that they've changed on the newer ones. But let's just go ahead and get started. First of all, the 4068 floor plan is on the Freightliner chassis with an 8.9 liter ISL engine and what is that? 400 horsepower, 1,250 foot-pounds of torque, rated at 15,000 pounds of towing. So as we walk down the passenger side, a couple of things I always like to point out. First of all, they give you a really heavy-duty grab handle. If you're slipping and falling and a couple hundred pounds hanging on this, it's going to keep you up. You also have the keyless entry. One of the things I always point out about the Newmar is their fuel fills right here by the front tire. They're actually protected by a steel plate. And I think you can hear that right there. The nice thing about that is if this tire ever blows or starts shredding for some reason, you're not going to damage your fuel line. And while I'm down here, get a look at the foot pad here. I put the levelers down, and the previous owner put the snap pads on there. Those are nice if you're camping, you know, in grass or sand or someplace where you maybe want a little bit more support. That's an aftermarket thing that the customer does himself. While I'm standing here, I might as well talk about the awning. We've got the Girard Nova package here, which covers the whole length of the coach. We also have the window awning package. So there's three of them, and these are manual. You have the little wand to pull them down. It's not the electric one. And again, here's some of the differences between a Ventana and maybe a Dutch Star or higher end. When you get to more of the luxury coaches, those are all going to be electric right there. Standard awning on this is a wall mount. When you go to the rooftop Girard awnings, they put them on for the whole length, so that's a big option that most people normally get. Another option is a 43-inch TV right here in the sidewall. You've got your Bose soundbar with that. That's a 4K Samsung TV. Then as we start looking in the compartments, now that box there, by the way, is the Starlink. This did have Starlink added to it. Typically, this is where you would have a 3-foot refrigerator freezer on a slide-out tray. Now, they're not standard on a Ventana. You could add it as an option, but they did pre-wire for that refrigerator. So you have both 110 and 12 volts right there as you open up the door. Back in the second compartment, we've got a full pull-out tray. Now, this is a manual tray, obviously. And there's a couple of components here, a cabinet door, a desk drawer. I'll explain that when we get inside. We made some changes on this coach, so those will make a little bit more sense when we get inside. But that will pull out from either side. Another kind of 3/4 pass-through tray here. And they've got a couple of, there's an extra water line there, and that looks like for propane over here possibly. This compartment is just storage. On the Dutch Stars, on some of the other ones, you'll see some stainless steel racks in there, maybe for holding oil or tools, stuff like that. You've got a water tank right behind there. Right here is one of your furnace, and you have a propane furnace and a propane water heater. where when you get to the Dutch Star level, those are going to be a hydronic water heater, hydronic furnace. On 2023, for the Ventanas, if this was a 43-footer, it would have an Oasis hydronic system. But everything 40 foot and less got a propane furnace. In 24, they changed that. So all Ventanas on the newer models will have the Oasis in it instead of this propane heater. Okay, as we come back, let's take a look at the axles. You can see the difference in that back tag axle. That is your passive steering tag axle on a Freightliner chassis. I believe this year they can't, it's either 14 or 17%. So as you're backing into a campground or making a really tight corner, these are gonna tilt slightly when you're under 20 miles an hour. That's going to help prevent the scrubbing of the tires, cut down your turning radius, just make it easier to maneuver all the way around. Okay, as we move back, this is our bathroom, and I like to point out that there is an egress door behind the toilet, and this is also a good place to talk about the flush wall slides that Newmar makes. All of these slide outs all the way around tuck inside the wall, very similar to this door. What that does for you is it seals it tighter so you don't get weather and rain coming in, but it also quiets the wind noise. If this fascia overhangs the sidewall as you're driving down the road 70 miles an hour, it's easier for wind to get in there. And they find that on a diesel pusher with the engine in the back, a lot of the noise up in the cab area is from the road and is from the wind. So your door seals, your slide out seals, windows, everything like that help make it a quieter ride. And that's what Newmar has done with this. Okay, as we come around back, again, this has got the 400 8.9 liter Cummins. It's rated for 15,000 pounds. You can see we've got the 2-inch receiver right here. We do have the 7-way plug. This was hooked up for the air brake also. Now, again, one of the differences between the Ventana level and the Dutch Star is where you start to get the side radiator. So this still has the rear radiator. Blocks the engine, however, you can still reach all your essential fluids, transmission, oil dipstick there. You've got your coolant, you've got your air cooler with the gauge here to determine when it needs to be replaced. Now it's a little bit harder to work on the engine. You're probably coming down from the top in the bedroom or bathroom area, but just wanted to show you the difference there. Another thing, as long as we're talking about it, the engine on this, it's an 8.9 liter Cummins. Now that can be anywhere from a 360 horse up to a 450 horse. So on the 400 horse, you still have 1,250 foot-pounds of torque, 15,000 pound towing. And this coach, it has an empty weight of about 34,600 pounds and a gross vehicle weight of 44,200, I think, 44 and change. So the Ventana, 44,000 GVW. The Dutch Star, a little bigger chassis, bigger engine, goes to 49,000 pounds. And then the Mountain Air and up, they hit 54,000 pound chassis. That's about the heaviest that you'll find, 54,900. So, what was that? Oh, yeah, I forgot a compartment. Sorry about that. So, here's another thing on the Ventana. Excuse me. These are your chassis batteries, your starting batteries. Master disconnect here for the chassis batteries. And another thing, generally on a Dutch Star or something else, this compartment will open and it's where your DEF is. Well, on the Ventana this year, you only have DEF on one side. We'll point that out as we get over there. Now we do have the 360 camera. So you see we've got a camera down low, we've got one up high, we have them on the side, we have one on the front. So, you know, you keep a good eye all the way around you. Let's come around to the driver's side, take a look. Now this first compartment, a little bit narrow, but it's a longer one. So, you know, you can get your camp chairs or other items in there without any problem. This is our DEF fill. So that's probably a 10-gallon def tank. We've got 100 gallons of fuel, 105 gallons of fresh, and then I believe it's 70 on your gray, 50 on the black. So we move down here. Let's take a look at our water compartment. And you can see both the water hose is on a power rewind. Your electrical hose was also in that back compartment. Everything is labeled really well. Your low point drains, your fill, your black tank rinse. Easy to winterize this self if you're the kind of person that does that. Very clean looking water closet there. And again, this is a 23, but there's only 3,400 miles on it. It didn't get heavy use. And some of the components inside look like they've never been used. There's our 50 amp. Now that's a 50-foot power cord on a power rewind. And then also you can see we've got our surge protector and our crossover switch in there. This is just the back of that 3/4 slide. Now, typically, if this was a Dutch Star, that's where your Oasis would be right there. Because it doesn't have the hydronic heater, you do get a little bit more storage, so that's a positive. And this is the back of that full pull-out. And then here's our house batteries and our propane tank. Now this has 4 6-volt AGM batteries. Typically, if you got a full electric with residential refrigerator, induction cook surface, it would have 8 batteries in there. And if you just get the refrigerator, it might have 6. This is kind of a hybrid. Like I said, we made some changes. I'll explain it inside. But this is the standard package, 4 batteries, and I think that's a 26-pound propane tank. And then, of course, this front compartment is chassis circuits, fuses. You've got some spare fuses here. And you pull your lever, slide the generator out. That is an 8K generator. This only has 2 air conditioners on it. As we step around the front, I'll point the Mobileye out right here. This is our little sensor device. So we do have lane tracking or lane assist if you're going out of your lane, blind spot monitoring, but this one doesn't have the adaptive cruise control. A lot of people ask about that. So in 2023, Ventanas did not have that as an option. Okay, let's go ahead and step inside. As we step in, I'll point out again, we've got some nice storage in these first 2 steps going in. Great place for muddy shoes or dog leashes, stuff like that. Okay, once again, this is a 4068, which was a new floor plan for this year. And as long as we're right here, I'm just going to start with the passenger seat. Now, of course, I do have the step cover right here, which is nice when you're traveling, especially if you have a dog or something that might fall down into the step well. Here's another option that they don't do anymore, and that's this little work desk. And I found once you get your slides open, move this chair all the way back and gives you a little bit more room with your desk here. Kind of a nice feature. Also, there's a phone charging mat over here for the passenger, one right up front for the driver. This desk here is no longer available as an option. So I kind of like it. It's convenient here for the passenger, but Newmar is not doing that anymore. I'll move my chair back up so I won't forget when I put the slide in. Okay, over here, since we're right at the cab, I will talk about the dash a little bit. So you can see we've got our 2 monitors, our backup monitor there. We do have, let me see. There we go. So we do have the 360 camera, and they give you, let me see, get into my menu, camera, there we go. And you can scroll through your different views right here. Look at both sides, front, back. You got an overhead view there. Although on 23, you notice the size of the monitors. Now they are 7.5. Some of them are 10-inch monitors, which cover the whole panel here. On the dash, it looks like you can see we're at gauges right now. I'm going to go to steering effort. This is our comfort drive. So if I want to adjust this up or down, right here's what I do, or where I do it. The comfort drive is a computer-assisted steering setup that senses, you know, a pressure on the tires, crosswinds. It keeps the steering wheel in the center position, so you're not fighting to keep it in the middle of the road. Really a nice feature on all of your diesels. Another thing, let's go back to the gauges, and if you wanted to check your transmission temp, your turbo boost, oil pressure, coolant, you've got all the diagnostics right here. And then again, we go down to our Mobileye, and this is where a lot of people expect to find the adaptive cruise control. You see, you've got your warning distance, lane departure, speed limit, things like that, and it'll tell you as you're getting close to traffic, but it's not an adaptive cruise control. And another thing, as I was scrolling through here, your lane departure warning, I noticed a previous owner disabled that. Smart move. That can get annoying every time you cross a line. Same with your speed limit indicator. I don't want you telling me when I'm over the speed limit, so you can disable those. Kind of a nice feature. And then, of course, your triptychs, your vehicle setting, diagnostics, and so forth. Right here on the dash, also on 23, they had moved the shift column right, or the shifter right here on the column. It's still a 6-speed Allison transmission, but this is where you shift it. And also, this is where you engage your 3-speed engine brake. See the low, medium, high right here. And then if you want to shift manually, you just push in right here, and then it becomes a manual transmission. Maybe for going downhill, you want to drop it down to 4th, put it on high for your jake brake there, and let the engine do the work slowing you down. So that's all controlled right here. Right here is where we would Bluetooth in our phone. Also, it's where we set our cruise control and our speed. And then over on the left side, I just showed you, you can go through your gauges and so forth. So not a lot of, you know, clutter on the dash. And then over here on the left, we do have our tag axle. It's on auto right now, which is where you want to leave it. But you can dump the pressure on that tag axle. So if you're backing up really tight, it just relieves the pressure on it. It doesn't lift it off the ground, but helps you from scrubbing. And then, of course, everybody wants to have the big air horn. That switch is right here. And as you see way over on the left is my levelers. Okay. Get this out of my way. And then up in the overhead, we do have a little bit of storage. Here's a lot of our gauges. Our inverter, I had to turn this on because we do have 110 volt awnings. So that's where you run them in and out. You can see we've got our Starlink up here, and we also have our Wi-Fi router, a Denali Spruce, I believe it is. Satellite, it is set up for a satellite system. This is your entry awning, the small one over the steps. And again, here is our Girard controller. They're 110 awnings, so if you're not plugged in, if your generator's not on, you do have to kick your inverter on there. Here we've got our security lights, water heater, exterior step. We can have our monitor panel if you want to scroll through everything there. And then our slide out controls. And there's our Suburban furnace. Okay. As we move back, take a look at the floor plan. One of the things that I point out, and this is a feature I really like, is I've got the passenger side dinette. I'm going to drop that TV for right now. And one of the reasons I like this setup, when you pull into an RV park, normally this is where your view is. That's where your picnic table is. That's your patio. I would rather have the dinette table right here, where I'm looking out over my own patio. And you can see the window awning here. It's a nice feature. Let's say it's a windy day. I don't want to put my main awnings out, but it's the afternoon, sun setting in the west. I can get really good shade right there with that window awning. Another thing that I'll point out, this is a convertible dinette. If you see this angled piece, I tell people, there's always going to be a lever there. You drop this down to the cleats, makes it easy to make into a bed. But the flip side of that, what you lose is the ability to pull this out and put a leaf in there and have a couple more chairs. It's a fixed dinette that does convert to a sleeper. And then, of course, you've got some storage underneath both of these. Overhead, got some storage compartments. You can see in the middle there, they give you a place for video components, but they don't come with DVDs and stuff like that anymore. People use their streaming service. Maybe you do still use a satellite. You can get that hooked up right there. And then we've got more storage over here. And that's a 43-inch TV, by the way. I'll go ahead and pop it up now. 43-inch TV, same as what you've got on the outside. And then I believe the one in the overhead is a 41-inch TV. This is an option. Without this TV, you would have more storage cabinets up there. Okay, let's move back, take a look at the kitchen. There we go. I like having the extension here to give you more counter space. You do have a couple of drawers, and boy, look how far those pull out. And everything is a soft close feature here. And here's part of the uniqueness of this coach. If you've watched any of my videos, you've heard me say I prefer cooking over propane because you can control your heat better. This is the 3-burner propane stove, and if you look, this is the sealed burner stove. There is no gap between that burner and your pan here, which means the food doesn't get down below. It makes it easier to keep clean. Great, surface on the top here. But to have the propane cook surface, it goes along with the propane water heater and the propane furnace that you get. So, I'd probably rather have the hydronic heating, the Oasis, rather than a propane furnace. But at this level, we're not in the luxury. You've got choices. Do you want to go propane? Do you want to go all electric? Like, say, the newer ones will have the hydronic heater in it. This unit also gets the dishwasher. So it's kind of nice to have. And my inverter's still on, I can tell. But, oh, that's right. The dishwashers, you need your generator or your 110. You can't run that off the inverter, so I can't open it up right now. Okay, in the overhead, storage here. Those shelves are adjustable. Maybe a little pull out, which makes it nice for shorter people to be able to reach the back there. Another storage cabinet over here. Then, of course, a big convection microwave. Here is our dual undermount stainless steel sink. Makes it easy to wipe things into the sink and keep it clean. And they are pretty deep. I like the farm sink, which comes all the way out, and this is about half level in the middle. But other than that, I would prefer having this undermount style sink. And of course, they all have some type of residential sprayer with it. Okay, underneath. Little storage there for your scrubbies or dish soap or whatnot. A little more storage there, place for a trash can. And then you get one more full pull-out storage drawer. Now, across from your kitchen is your refrigerator, and this is circling back to those cabinets that we saw underneath. The standard refrigerator for a Ventana in 2023 was a 10 cubic foot propane electric, your camp style refrigerator. The previous owner of this wanted a residential refrigerator, so we customized this a little bit. We took out one of the storage and pantry areas to accommodate this refrigerator. You still get a nice pantry over here with the full pull-out drawers. On this side, you get some adjustable storage shelves. But those components you saw underneath came from this area. And in fact, if you look right above the refrigerator, you can tell this is our trim strip here. You can sort of see where we took out the refrigerator and what was above it. But circling back to one of the things I like about this, I would much rather have a residential style refrigerator that runs on your inverter and batteries. Number one, it's larger. It's almost 19 cubic feet. And look at the area you get down in your freezer compared to those camping style refrigerators. So I love having this feature, and I think it was a great improvement when he had us add it. But then on the flip side, I like having the propane too because of the cook surface. So typically, if you get an electric refrigerator, you're going to have an electric cooktop. So that makes this coach kind of unique. Okay, let's move back a little bit farther. First of all, here we've got our half bathroom. And let me just open up the storage and then get out of the way here. Ah. There you go. And then in that cabinet above the toilet is where you've got your breakers and your fuses. I'll show you that real quick. So you do get a little storage in there, but you can see we've got our 110 breakers. And, you know, this is kind of odd. They've changed this handle because I've caught my shirt twice right here coming out. It's a little bit narrow. So the new ones have a different recess handle. But as you can see, 110 breakers and 12-volt fuses for your house systems right there. Okay, across from our bathroom, this is what made this new floor plan so unique. This area here comes standard as a desk, but as an option, you can get the wine cooler here, and with that wine cooler, you get a cabinet for stemware. So really cool option, I guess, if you're a wine connoisseur or touring Napa Valley or maybe out in Palisades, it would come in handy. I lived out in Grand Junction and got to know a lot of the wine owners out in the Palisades area. Actually, you know, I was kicked out of the yacht club in Michigan, Jody. They told me I didn't know the difference between my port and Burgundy. Those snobs, can you believe it? Anyway, for your wine aficionados, here you go. Okay, let's move back into the bedroom. First of all, we do have a solid door here. Give you as much privacy as possible. And as we walk in, over here on the passenger side, we've got our king bed, and you notice both sides have a pedestal with some storage down there. I can see the touch-up paint down in there. You've got 110 outlets, some USB, USB-C ports. So if you have a sleep machine, you might be able to put it here. Otherwise, you could always put it in the overhead. You've got a 110 plug in there and access ports on each side to drop some lines down. And also up underneath here, you've got your reading lights, but you've got a panel that if I forgot to turn off the lights, I could shut them all off right there laying in bed. kind of a nice feature. On the sides, we do have a couple of actual functioning windows. Open those up. We've got some of our fantastic fans going. It draws a nice breeze through here. Okay, underneath this, you get a little bit of storage. Now, that cushion there is the cushion for the dinette when you make it into a bed. And normally you'd see a couple of folding chairs, maybe a table leaf here, but because that dinette converts, it doesn't pull out and give you the ability to add an extra leaf to it. Okay, across from the bed, we have our wardrobe area, a couple of shirt closets. Here we've got another area for video components, gaming systems, things like that. And then we do have 5 more pull-out drawers that actually are pretty deep. And again, these all have the soft close feature. TV in the bedroom, again, that's a 41-inch. And then over here, another place for wardrobe. While I'm standing here and thinking about it, let's talk about the floor. Great looking tile. I love the high polish finish, but you notice carpet in the slide out. All Ventanas are going to have that. When you get to the Dutch Star level, that's where they start what they call the Moore floor, which is tile in the slide out. Now, one thing about the tile, it adds a lot of weight, but it's nice to not have any carpet at all. That's why you jump up to the 49,000 pound chassis, or maybe a 54,000 on the Mountain Air and London Airs and up. They can support more weight. That tile does get heavy, but it's one of the luxury features. And with the Dutch Star on up, you get the option of electric floor heat, which you don't have in this model. Now on the new ones, the 25s and 26s, I believe that is an option that they have added. Okay, and let's move back into the bathroom finally. So, as long as we're standing here, let me point out this egress door. If there's an emergency, open this door, you pull that bottom panel, there's a ladder in there that drops down. So it makes it easy to bail out as opposed to going out through your bedroom window. And this is a one-way door. They can't open it from outside. And over here beside it, we've got our Splendide stackable washer and dryer. On 40 footers and below, you only get a single sink. On the 43 footers, you would get a double sink back here in most floor plans. Nice deep medicine cabinet there. And I like the backsplash in the countertop too. Let me get my vanity lights on. There we go. Nice countertops, great looking backsplash here. You do get a little more storage underneath with a couple of pull-out drawers. And then over here you get a little bit more wardrobe area. You can see we've got a built-in safe. And underneath here, that's your water heater actually. And then we do have the radius shower. And I'll go ahead and step in here and show you how much room you have. I like the teak seat, which is pretty much an option in all of the Newmar diesels. And then also the water miser, which is a system that helps preserve your fresh water, keeps you from filling up your gray tank too fast. It recirculates that water while you're waiting for it to warm up. Once this light turns blue, you flip the valve, take your shower. Now you're putting it down into the gray tank. So the water miser system also has been adapted by pretty much all of the Newmar diesels. Okay, and as we step back into the bedroom area, I will just point out the ceiling real quick. I talk about this most videos I do on the Newmars. They cover their air conditioning vents so you don't see those round pucks. And I like the accent lighting, the look of it. It really gives it a nice designer look, even though this isn't what I would consider one of Newmar's luxury coaches. They still have these very high-end finishes throughout. So once again, my name's Mark Love. We're standing in a 2023 Ventana that's in just great condition with only about 3,400 miles. If you have questions on this one or anything, please reach out to me. You can call me at 970-631-0083. Email me at mlove@transwest.com. Let me know if you want to come down and take a look or take a drive. And if you have any wine questions, reach out to me. I'll confuse you for sure. Happy trails, my friends. We'll see you next week.